Cure Up Rapapa. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Mahou Precure Mirai Days, the second Precure spin-off anime after Otona Precure. Now, this anime was originally announced in early 2023, and I didn't have much excitement for it back then because I was much more excited for Otona, being a Yes Precure 5 fan, so I didn't really care about this one. I believe this anime was supposed to come out in 2024, but it was delayed. If that's incorrect, someone tell me in the comments. And so it finally came out this year in January 2025. I decided to watch episode 1, and from then on, I am obsessed. Mirai Days is definitely one of my top favorite Precure seasons. It hits all the points for me in terms of plot, action, development, and just general storytelling. It's so engaging, and it's a big improvement from Otona. So let's get into it. I like that episode 1 immediately thrusts us into action with a scene of a burning building, and Mirai is going to stop it. We learn that Mirai has been acting as a vigilante magician, or as a Mahou girl as referred to in the show. This is a really fascinating narrative, as I don't think we really saw this in the old Mahou Sky or in other seasons, where cures use their powers to save people in day-to-day life aside from defeating the evil villain. It was really different for Precure. And I know we did see in some seasons, like with Hirogoto Sky, there was the episode where Cure Sky and Cure Prism have to help an old lady, so she hops on their back so they can jump from building to building and get her to the airport with super speed. And also in Tropical Rouge, where I think 3 of the Cures have to rush to Asuka on the train, and of course they transform into their Cure form so they can go there super fast. But this instance stood out because it wasn't a one-time thing. It's something that Mirai does now in her adult life, and it's particularly dangerous situations, not just a silly one-off thing. Especially Mirai having to go inside the burning building and save the old woman. It was really cool for Precure standards. It also reminded me of this episode of Magical Girl Raising Project. Also, before she put out the fire, Mirai was originally on track to meet her friends at the bar and get drunk, and Mofuru even comments to Mirai because she's going crazy on the broomstick, "Are you drunk, Mirai?" I guess all Cures and adult spin-offs will be drinking. What also made the scene really cool was, as Mirai was saving the burning building using the water, we also see Liko in the magic world teaching her students about using magic in the real world. It really added to the seriousness of the scene, and it was a really cool parallel. We are introduced to a new villain, and this is my favorite part because this villain was actually in a previous season. But this is Aidu, and for me, he really looks like Cure Chocolat, not only because of his short red hair and eyes, but because he has a dog. He comes to attack and depower Cure Felice, who's in outer space, and is acting as the new Mother Rapapa, I believe. There's a lot I have to say about him. He's a really cool villain, but I'll save that for episode 3. I really like the visual effects when Aidu uses his magic. It isn't just a plain glowing light. They really put in effort for a distinct visual imagery. It's a lot of intricate and zany patterns for when he uses the power. Also, the incense burner he has is super cool. It really reminds me of Princess Kakyu from Sailor Moon. Plus, she's red too. I noticed that Mirai's phone has a stylus. Okay, Team Samsung using the S Pen. I just love Samsung Galaxy Note phones as someone who used to own one and do digital art on the phone. I just think phones with pens are cool. They just make me feel so productive. Let's move on to the transformation and fight scene. This was all done by Yu Yoshiyama. His style is really dynamic. I really loved it in this show. It tends to lack frames, though this works quite well and leads to very impactful movement and action shots. In some instances in past seasons, I wasn't a fan of his style, such as in Cure Flamingo's attack. In Flamingo's attack, I believe she's using the Hard Rouge Rod to materialize a flamingo flipper to smash a ball of energy at the enemy, but the movement is too vague and it's really hard to see what's happening clearly and the impact is lost. Critique aside, I do love Yu Yoshiyama's work in this show. Miracle Magical Jewel Relay Pink Diamond style was so well animated. My favorite part of the Mahou Girl transformations will always be when they appear from the magic circle. They were done transforming in the realm inside that circle, and then they pop out when they're done. We also see the animators sneak in a kiss scene between Miracle and Magical, which surprised a lot of people. I mean, I highly doubt they're going to go far with the couple aspect of these two, since Precure in general likes to play it way too safe. The fact that they put that in there, as well as one in the attack, and as well as the fact that they do kiss in the manga, does show that the team does view them in some kind of romantic relationship, but they're also going to keep it very subtle. I really like how Miracle and Magical get slightly updated designs for the series, and the fact that they remain adults when they transform into Cures. That was something very stupid about Otona Precure, how they had to become teenagers again instead of just creating adult forms for the Cure designs. I also like how Miracle and Magical comment about their updated designs and how the magic has a sense of style. It is interesting to note that Cure Felice has the same design as the previous season, unlike Miracle and Magical, and I'm gonna guess because she isn't featured as much as the other Cures, so they didn't feel the need to design it. The second reason being she kind of ages in a weird way, so they wouldn't need to do an older design for her. I mean, at the end of Mahotsukai Precure, she was still a kid while they were adults, and as Mother Rapapa, she's a fully grown woman, so she kind of ages in a separate weird way. And the third reason, they were already reanimating all the transformations and attacks for Miracle and Magical, so it's probably like an added effort, especially since her transformation in the previous series was already really well done. Who knows what the reason is. They end up having to fight against this menacing bear monster. The battle has that BGM that I love from the original Mahotsukai. We see the Cures use the Peridot and Moonstone Linkle Stones. Love when Miracle teleports through the portals to finally land a double kick onto the bear with Magical. Super powerful. I can't recall if they did this portal teleportation technique in battle in the old Mahotsukai Precure. It's been a really long time since I saw it, but I love how hard they went in this fight. Even the scene of Mofurun taking a step in worry because the monster was coming back up while the Cures retained their battle stances was so badass. It just really kept the intense energy of this fight. Diamond Eternal was really well animated as well. Also, before I move on to episode 2, can we just talk about how freaking catchy the ending to Mirai Days is? Kisakira Link, this is a bop. I love it so much. I like how the Precure spin-offs don't have CGI endings, they just have 2D endings for a change. Love all the crystal effects, and my favorite part is when we see 3 windows and we see the Cures in their various jewel forms. Love Sapphire and Rubies the most, they just have such artsy and elegant framing. Love how one's in the front and one's in the back. We see Topaz and they're holding hands with Felice, and of course you can't forget product placement, so the last shot has them holding Pretty Holic. Next on to episode 2, we are introduced to Hisui. She's a mysterious character with connections to Hachan, and Magical immediately recognizes her as the puzzle piece to solving this mystery. And I love that we had the very serious side of Magical there, and she's very smart and quick with it. Okay, first things first. As a green fanatic, I really like Hisui's hair color. It leans on the teal side, but actually reads as green. It's just this flattering jade green hair that it just looks so good. You can tell it's green. It's not teal blue. I wish that if there was a green Cure in the future, they could use this hair color. I don't think I would mind. Although, of course, I would prefer the full green, but it's just so nice. It actually reads as green. I really hope Hisui becomes a green Cure later, like a special Cure. That would be really, really cool. And now that I think about it, her presence reminds me of Chibi Chibi from Sailor Stars, being a little girl who mysteriously appears in the main cast with no specific reason right away. Seeing Liko swipe the magic heart on the regular world turnstile to go to the magic world was a cool thing in the original series, so it's good to see it back again. The fight in this episode was really well done. It was against this Lego block looking robot monster who could change shape. The Ruby transformation wasn't as good as the original. It's kind of hard to beat that super smooth Nishi Itaoka animation style, especially in the old one where their shoes appear as they rotate, like bam bam. It's very satisfying. Also, I'm kind of surprised they're reanimating the transformations because I figured that was something they'd only do for Pink Diamond style since they got new outfits. The obvious reason is because they're adults now, but I thought that the Cures age in the past transformations too, and they easily could have skipped the aging sequences. But I'm guessing in the original series when they age in the transformations, it isn't exactly into an adult, just older teenagers. But regardless, I do find it surprising since their adult appearances in these Cure forms look really similar to how they looked in the past season. Ruby Passionale looked great as well. In this episode, we see Aidu's power has an effect on Mirai and Liko and causes them to see visions of the past and a future. I really like Aidu's presence in this series. It's very constant, unlike a lot of Precure villains who usually have shit writing. Most Precure villains' lore isn't revealed until the very end of the series, or in the case of some villain generals, they have little to no lore at all, like the Oreski trio or the followers of the Queen of Delays. I just love the serious and tense vibes of Mirai Days, especially in this last scene in episode 2 where the entire staff of the school/mansion goes on a night watch to guard Mirai and Hisui. Mirai feels no sense of comfort when Liko rushes into the room to tell her she had a vision too, because Aidu already told her that Liko would be rushing into the room at that moment, so she just felt very violated. Episode 3 was another really excellent episode. This one was focused on Aidu and the breadth of his powers. Hisui gets older, which I expected since the merchandise has her looking a bit older. Earlier I said that Hisui reminded me of Chibi Chibi from Sailor Stars. Well, this aging moment definitely reminded me of Hotaru or Sailor Saturn when she goes through her rapid aging after being reborn. Liko gets a smartphone and it was so funny seeing her at the phone store and how she couldn't write in kanji properly for the phone order form. Even her writing Magic World as her place of origin and Mirai saying, you know what, fuck this, I want a new phone. Mirai notes that Aidu's clothing isn't from the Magic World at all, meaning his origins must be from the non-Magic World. And speaking of which, I love Aidu's design because of that. The jeans and jacket really contrast the entire theme of the season, making him a unique looking villain. Love when Mirai calls Liko only for Aidu to answer, leaving the audience to believe that this is another one of his powers, but she literally just left her phone on the bench and went to go get food. I forgot how cool the Topaz form is. The fight scene was epic, with the Cures using a variety of materialized objects to attack Aidu, only for him to predict each attack and exactly what they're going to say. We really got to see the width of his time control, and he really gave Sailor Pluto a run for her money. See, this is what I wish for Sailor Pluto, off topic, but Sailor Pluto is the keeper of time, and she barely gets anything related to her time powers. In the Dream Arc and Cosmos, none of her powers relating to time are relevant at any measure. I love the moment of Mofurun and Magical being annoyed at the kanji in the middle of the battle. Mirai Days does such a good job of mixing the seriousness with the silliness. I also forgot how epic Topaz Esperanza was. The robot they defeated just blew up at the end. Like, damn, it just kept on going. I really miss when Precure had that much explosion in their attacks. Recent seasons don't have as impactful explosions, or none at all. At the end, it's revealed that Aidu lives in a regular apartment, which is surprising seeing that he's a magical villain. Until he unlocks his front door and his home is revealed to be in another dimension, this grand library, possibly in the magic world. We get a sneak peek of his origin, where we see a pic of him as a little boy and his presumably dead mother, whose face is obscured. And finally, episode 4. Honestly, this one was less interesting than the other 3, but it had some cool moments. Hisui is having temper tantrums since she's going through a rebellious phase of aging or whatever. She's butting heads with Liko especially. It's interesting to see how Liko's by-the-book and earnest personality in the original series carries over here as an adult, especially when she's looking after Hisui. It's so funny when she kept repeating, "I read it online that kids shouldn't use phone. I read it online that games can be too distracting," when scolding Hisui. Very by the book, but instead buy her new phone. Hisui is not having it. A lot of people like to say that in the old series that Mirai and Liko's dynamic with Hachan was very parents and child, but this one with Hisui especially is, now that they're adults, and when Mofurun says they shouldn't fight in front of a child. This park area was so stunning. Always loved the background artwork in Precure, and so was the shading once they're under the trees. A lot of tranquil and beautiful shots here that I really liked. Oh, also, Liko's dad appears. Earlier when they were being stalked, I thought it was Aidu, but it was her dad making sure she's okay. Speaking of her dad, does he know that they're Precure? I think he does, but I honestly can't remember if he did in the original. Just let me know in the comments. He later helps during the fight, and I was like, how did you get in here? It was cool though. Shows that he is formidable and was able to locate them. The 2 civilian minor characters had shown up before Mirai and Liko fought Aidu, and I was really disappointed because I thought this would be the time they finally figured out that they are in fact Precure, but they didn't, so it's a huge missed opportunity. The Cures had really cool summoning animations for the Linkle Stones. We never saw something like this before, just the stones being inserted. This fight, although underwhelming compared to the others, had a super surprising ending. Hisui is really moved by Mirai and Liko trying to protect her, that she uses her wooden butterfly wand and suddenly goes Yu Yoshiyama on us with her animation and fires a huge magical beam from it, destroying the enemy. This part I was not expecting either. Suddenly, Hisui alone encounters Hachan, who gives her a comforting look. She remains silent as the 2 touch hands. This moment was so mystical, a meeting between green Cures. So that is Mirai Days so far. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it definitely is one of my top 10 Precure series if spin-offs are to be included. I think it does a much better job of telling an engaging story than Otona does. Anyway guys, I found Mirai Days amazing. What about you? Thanks for watching!